Welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to one of my monthly vlogs for the month of August 2024. If you're not familiar with the monthly vlog format, basically I arrive to somewhere new in the West Country Wanderings region and share with you what's been happening on the channel for the previous month, reading out the very best of your comments while I do so. So it's like a little West Country Wanderings community here on YouTube. Also arrived somewhere new on the channel that we've not visited before. So where are we today? We're in the county of Somerset and we're actually in the beautiful small town of Axbridge, which is actually the smallest town in the county of Somerset. Some people say it's actually the smallest town in the southwest, although I might disagree with that because I'm familiar with another town called Modbury, which is in the South Hams, it's South Devon, which I do believe is a little smaller. We're close to the much bigger, but also a village of Cheddar. Cheddar is very famously a tourist destination, particularly for the caves and the gorge there. But Cheddar's a village. Here in Axbridge, it's a town. I'll tell you some more about how it got its name and why this is a town and Cheddar, being bigger, is a village. It's all a bit strange. Stick around here on West Country Wanderings for the monthly vlog. Now, there's a most delightful little eco garden there, which is a public space. Going to make use of that to tell you more about the town here of Axbridge in Somerset and also what's been happening in the channel as well. Well, it's a most delightful garden here, and it tells you how this little garden here, town centre in the market square, came about. I have these wonderful little plastic coated leaflets to tell you about it. This eco garden came about as a shared project between St John's Church and the people in the town who wanted to create a visual reminder of climate change and the urgent need to take better care of the earth, its resources and its biodiversity. It used to be just a bare patch of gravel, so it's wonderful to see it now with all these magnificent flowers around it, and I'll just take you around here in a moment. It's not to compete with the Chelsea Flower Show. I've been to the Chelsea Flower Show. I think it's a bit overhyped, and if you don't like crowds, I would avoid the Chelsea Flower Show. It's the third year of the garden this year, which is really good. Random mixture of flowers, herbs, and vegetables, which is really good. So excellent. Really good to see that here in Axbridge. See that they've got tomatoes here, not fully out yet, so they're still not ripe yet, but they'll probably be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, as we head into the autumn. In fact, coming up, this will probably be arriving Friday or Saturday. I think Saturday is the is that the last month of August? It's coming up soon. That's why I'm filming this on the Wednesday, because it takes me a day or so to get it out to you, editing and uploading, etc. But yeah, this is coming to the end of summer period, but I do actually look forward to autumn as well. I do find actually filming in the summertime, the summer peak, actually quite tricky because getting around the West Country in the summer can be difficult. I also find there tends to be a lot of rain in August, as well as very, very hot weather, makes it very unsuitable for filming. And as you get into autumn, you can get some really nice days, and with a lower angle of the sun as well, it makes it particularly suitable for photography and getting out, particularly woodland walks, which I'm sure we'll be doing during the month of September here on West Country Wanderings. Now, right next to the church is John the Baptist, and where I did that introductory piece there by the War Memorial, you have the church rooms, which are probably the smallest church rooms in the country. So we're going along with the smallest town in Somerset. These are really, really tiny, but very historic church rooms here in Axbridge. I'm just going to grab over the seat there and tell you a little bit more about this beautiful and small town. So that there is the War Memorial, where I started doing the video here today, overlooking the marketplace. I'll insert some photographs of some of the buildings around the marketplace, because a lot of them are very, very historic, including St John's Hall, which is now a museum in the town. If I've got time, I'll have a look in there, but often with these local museums, you're not allowed to do photography or videography inside them. But they're always worth looking in, because it gives you more of a story about what a town is about. Now, before I tell you more about the town here of Axbridge, I just wanted to share with you something that happened yesterday. Now, the monthly vlogs, as well as being about a place, a new location here in the West Country, it's also about you, the viewer, the really important person that makes all of this happen here on West Country Wanderings. Yesterday I was out shopping and just leaving a local supermarket close to where I lived, and I bumped into a viewer. And this lady lives close to a village just outside the city of Bath, and she was shopping not far away from where I live, and she told me a little story about how the channel has helped her, and I was quite surprised to hear this, but also very, very delighted to hear this as well. Perhaps some of you may relate this. Sadly, she lost somebody close to her earlier part of this year, finding it difficult to get out and about walking. Now, often I've said to you that walking is a very, very good aid to help our mental health, also our physical health as well, and we'll come on to that later in today's video. But she'd been following my Cotswold Way series, and following the sad loss of a relative, she found that doing walking again has helped her overcome that bereavement. And yeah, so she's actually now done part of the Cotswold Way, or indeed half of it, from Chipping Campden down to the halfway point, which is really, really great. And she hopes to complete the Cotswold Way later this year in the autumn into the city centre of Bath. So it was really, really nice to meet you yesterday, Janet, and I thank you that the channel has helped you as well. Most delighted to hear that. And there was another gentleman, actually, another YouTuber, I won't mention their name, but they watched one of my videos recently where I was talking about autism and mental health, and he found one of those videos helpful. If that's a topic you'd like me to return to, I've done 3 videos on that topic in terms of mental health. I did mention autism, but it's not just about autism, it's also about how being out in the fresh air and going to places, visiting new places and walking in the countryside can help us mentally. If that's something that you'd like me to return to as a topic, then please let me know and drop a comment in the comment box of today's monthly vlog here on West Country Wanderings. Okay, so what can I tell you about the town here of Axbridge? Well, the name, first of all, it comes from Axbridge. I'll put the spelling of that below. So it's Anglo-Saxon, which literally means, yeah, you probably guessed it, bridge over the River Axe. So the River Axe flows through the town. And say we're at the foothills of the Mendip Hills. Now, man has been here for a long, long time. In fact, the Romans were here. The settlement in the era of Roman times, and they actually mined in the Mendip Hills for lead. Later on, of course, coming on to limestone, lots of limestone quarries in this area, which you'll be familiar with. But prior to that, prior to the Romans arriving, there is lots of evidence of prehistoric man. Some skeletons have been found in various, numerous caves nearby here, and in Cheddar as well, famously Cheddar Man. As I say, Cheddar is just a couple of miles away from here. Also close to Axbridge is the reservoir, which was built in the 1930s by Bristol Water Company. Sometimes it's called Cheddar Reservoir, sometimes known as Axbridge Reservoir. It actually opened in 1937. And our main identifier, I guess, is because it's circular in shape, and I hope to do a little bit of a circular walk around the area, and perhaps we'll touch on the edge of the reservoir as I do so later in today's video, as I'm telling you about the videos on the channel here on West Country Wanderings. So yeah, Axbridge, most delightful place. I think the population's about 2,000. The population of Cheddar, as I say, which is only a village, is about, well, at least double that, 4,000 to 5,000, obviously, and that gets a lot more visitors than what they get here in Axbridge. But I know which one I prefer. I have been to Cheddar, don't get me wrong, I do love Cheddar, it's a very nice place, but it can get a little bit overrun with lots and lots of visitors. If you want somewhere peace and quiet to come, as I say, I'm filming this in August. I know it's early-ish, just after 9 o'clock, but it's still pretty quiet, and there's free parking here as well, which is always good, isn't it? Now shortly I'm going to make my way up this lane that follows the edge of the church here. See if I've got time to have a look in the church and put some photographs in of the inside of the church as well. The reason I want to follow this footpath, which leads up onto a hill, which I've just forgotten the name of, is because it passes close by? Well, to what is left of Axbridge railway station. Axbridge used to be on the line which head down from Yatton, which is on the main Bristol to Exeter line, down towards a place called Witham Friary. In fact, it follows the line of the present day heritage line, the East Somerset Railway. From here, of course, it heads down towards the city of Wells, a place I still need to do a full and proper video there. I was actually there just before Christmas last year with Louise from South West London's Sundays even, looking at the Christmas market there in the city of Wells. But we will return there to do a fuller explore at a later date. But just to tell you, the other thing about Axbridge, that it was of historical military importance. In Saxon times, it was a military stronghold to protect this part of Wessex and West Country against the invading Vikings. It also got a royal charter in 1202 as like a spin-off from those days, if you like. But it grew in its importance and its wealth most considerably in Tudor times, because this here, Axbridge, was the centre of cloth manufacture. And of course, the reason for that is, again, that river, the River Axe, and the various mills, and the fact that the water in the Axe would have been suitable for drying and, well, processing the cloth here. Grew up with that, and of course that's why we have the beautiful buildings that we now do still on survive here in this most beautiful town here in Somerset. At the top of these steps is something rather interesting, and it's a rare survivor, a rare GWR survivor of Axbridge railway station. But there's a bit more to it than that. Now, I'll insert some photographs I've taken of Axbridge railway station now. While I was taking those photographs, a gentleman came out of the station, approached me, and invited me inside for a cup of coffee. Now, it's not a private residence, it's actually the home to the Axbridge Men's Shed Group. It's a collective, a volunteer group to help men's mental health. Also, they have a couple of projects on the go. One of them is to restore as much as they can of Axbridge railway station. Now, normally with railway stations such as these, have either been demolished, fallen into complete disrepair, or they've been bought privately. This is none of these. This is now leased to the Men's Shed Group, and they're starting a project to restore it. In fact, they've already done a lot of work. I was invited inside, so I'll include some photographs of what it looks like inside Axbridge railway station now. You can see that they've done a lot of work to do with the windows. They're just starting some work on the decoration of that room you see there. There's a kitchen off that, so they gather together there. I think it's once a week. I'll put in links to their details in the description of today's video. They also have a GoFundMe page, so have a look at that as well if you can help in any way. And if you live in the Axe Valley, particularly in the areas of Axbridge and Cheddar, then please, why not pop along to their group or find out more about them. They're also starting to build a model railway in an adjacent shed. I'll show some photographs of that now, so that's a great project as well. So they've already got the track down, and the basics of the woodwork has already been put into place, so they're going to build on that, which is a really exciting project to see. You know, like things model railway. We were down at one in Yeovil, weren't we, the other day looking at that, so that was good at the railway centre there. So yeah, thank you. I've forgotten the gentleman's name who invited me in, gave me a nice cup of coffee, and I met several other people there at the Axbridge Men's Shed Group. Wonderful cause. And yeah, it's wonderful to see that this has been cleared. The site has been completely cleared. That, when they took it over about a year ago, was completely overgrown. You could hardly get access to Axbridge's railway station, and now you can. You can certainly have a look at it at the top of the steps up from the churchyard here at Axbridge. And I'd like to thank the Axbridge Men's Shed Group for their assistance and talking to me, giving me some more information about this fascinating, a very close-knit community town here. A couple of things. One is to do with an air disaster, another one is to do with a church. I'll talk some more about those later in today's video. I'm absolutely loving this sun effect seat here. I think you used to see them in like the 1920s and the 1930s on people's front gates, didn't you? So kind of dated to that, but it's a brand new seat here. What's been happening on the channel? Well, I opened my book of words. There's been some 12 videos on the channel. There'll be probably a couple more landing before the very end of the month though, which have been filmed but have not yet been edited. I think I might have mentioned the Yeovil Railway Centre one earlier, but that hasn't gone up yet, so you might be seeing this one before, but it'll be going up over the next couple of days. It's the Yeovil Railway Centre, which is next to Yeovil Junction. More about that later, what's coming up next month. But what's been happening this month? Well, as I said, the first video was one of my Cotswold Walk series, and I'll be doing another Cotswold Walk over the next few days as we go into September. I always enjoy doing those. There's usually about one a month, and they're nice and straightforward. I don't tend to do much script writing or load of research for them, and they tend to be fairly close to where very fortunate to live in the Cotswolds, but also it's a beautiful part of Somerset here today, here in Axbridge. The first one was 3 hills around the town of Dursley in Gloucestershire. And that was a point of interest for me to make that video. I've been thinking about making that for some time because of the secret that lies on one of those hills, which is Downham Hill. And that secret, of course, I'm sure most of you have watched that video by now, but I'll tell you what the secret is. So there's a spoiler coming up. If you want to watch it and you haven't watched it yet, then skip this bit for the next couple of minutes. But the secret was that it was a hospital on the top of the hill. And it was a specific hospital for smallpox. And I also revealed in that video that Edward Jenner later went on to discover or look for vaccines, which we now, of course, are very fortunate in the world to have to stop out things like smallpox, which is a dreadful disease. He didn't have a hospital there, but he certainly visited those unfortunate patients that were in that hospital there. Anyway, the walk took in 2 other hills, Camlong Down and Peak Down, or Cam Peak, whichever one you prefer, from the town of Dursley. Had some great comments on that video, including from Frank Hobbs. A great video showing why, having travelled all over the world, lived in different countries in the world, I now live in glorious Gloucestershire. And also from Lee Clift, we are so lucky to live in beautiful Shire. I do like Dursley, and I always have a mooch in the Ironmongers, proper old school. Thank you, Frank and Lee, for both those comments. Great comments there. And I get what you mean there, Frank. I've travelled around a lot, and I enjoy all of the West Country. And I have been abroad as well on few occasions. I haven't done loads of travelling abroad. I have been to a few places. I've been to Germany and France and Australia and a few other places. But I'm quite content with travelling around the West Country and not really interested in exploring beyond those places, I think it's perfect. I'm very lucky to live in Gloucestershire, and Gloucestershire is a fantastic county, but also equally is Somerset and all the other counties that make up the West Country as well. They all have their absolutely outstanding features, and certainly this is an outstanding feature here today in the town of Axbridge. The next video was one where occasionally I like to do, which is just looking at acoustic sounds. Now these are really difficult to do because it's very difficult in our very increasingly noisy and frenetic society to find places which this format fits, which is literally just using acoustic sounds. There was no music, there was no commentary from me, and it was just the natural sounds I found on the day with my camera going around a beautiful village in Wiltshire, and that village happened to be the village of Little Bedwin, which happens to lie on the Kennet-and-Avon Canal and what is known as the Berks and Hants line, railway line. I always find that a bit strange because it doesn't go into Hampshire at all. It's the main line between Taunton and the Berkshire town of Reading, well, between Penzance and right up to Paddington, so it's a through line for that. But it's great. So in between those trains, just total peace and quiet. I found it a very uplifting place to wander around for a few minutes and enjoy the park there and the canal side and the towpath and bits of nature in the woodland that I discovered there. Great comment on that from Faith. Always great to hear from you, Faith. Thank you. The sound you pick up is wonderful. It's great to immerse yourself in such lovely surrounds. And just on that point, Faith, thanks very much for that kind comment, Faith. I did spend quite a bit of time editing the audio on that. So although the microphones I use aren't anything particularly special, they're just, I think I might have just used I can't remember what I did there. This is my lavalier microphone I got clipped on me today. So because I'm doing pieces of the camera on the vlog, I don't use my shotgun mic, which is the one I tend to do when I'm out and about walking more, which is better for picking up acoustic sounds. But the problem with the shotgun mic, it's also better at picking up lots of noise and aircraft and traffic. So if you're in a noisier place, the lavalier is better, and also it's better with a lavalier if you're further away from the camera, which is what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, thanks for that. I did tweak the sound a lot, so yeah, to try and emphasize certain sounds within it, but glad you noticed, Faith, thank you. And also a comment from TPT6148. My grandfather was from Burbage, now near the Bedwins, and my great-grandfather was chief forester of the Savernake Forest. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So I don't know your first name, but that was the name that came up when you sent the comment. Savernake Forest is like the area south of the Swindon, which is not actually in Wiltshire, is its own like borough, isn't it, a unitary authority. If you go south of there towards Marlborough and along a bit, you get to the Savernake Forest, and that's certainly an area I want to explore more here on West Country Wanderings in the future. Thank you both for those excellent comments. One of the other things I learned from the Men's Shed group was about the Methodist Church here in Axbridge. Now sadly it closed some 2 weeks ago, I do believe. It's actually been running continuously for some 170 years, a heart of the community here in the town of Axbridge. He mentioned that one of the parishioners that attended services regularly for over 80 years from her childhood, she's now in her late 80s. Unfortunately, she'll now no longer be able to worship here in Axbridge, and so will probably have to go to the bigger Methodist chapel or church in nearby Cheddar. But it seems such a shame she's been celebrating services here since all those times in Axbridge for 80 years. There is a project to record oral histories of the parishioners that attended the Methodist Church, and also to film and photograph both the outside and the inside of the Methodist Church. I'll include some photographs I've taken of the Methodist Church here today in this wonderful town, very close lit and peaceful town here in Somerset. Now, one of the things one of the gentlemen from the Men's Shed group told me about was these gravestones here. As you notice, they're in one solid line parallel to the path. The church is just over there. There's a reason they're buried here, because of something that happened on the 10th of April 1973. Unfortunately, there was an air accident in the country of Switzerland, a long way from where we are here in the West Country in Somerset, of course. But these here are the graves of the people that lost their lives in the Swiss air accident back in 1973. I wasn't even aware of the connection to Axbridge and the Swear accident. It's not mentioned online at all that I could find, but a bit of nice local knowledge there about something that wasn't nice at all, about a terrible tragedy that happened just over 50 years ago in Switzerland, but direct connections here to a town here in the West Country. Now the building that you see here is called 36 on the Roxy. It used to be the Red Lion at the start of the High Street. It actually has one of the smallest cinemas inside there. It was restored around 2015, 2016, opening as a private cinema, or rather public cinema, but it's now part of, I think it's like a B&B come accommodation, so you have use of it if you stay there. And they have seats there which were taken out of what was known as the Colston Hall in Bristol to refurbish it. I think they got some lottery funding to do that, but it's inside that building there, the Roxy here in Axbridge. Wonderful cinema. So I've now come out of the town centre of Axbridge. I'm heading towards Cheddar Axbridge Reservoir. I can actually see it. It's on an embankment there. It might be a little bit too busy for me to film on top of the embankment. I'm heading towards some woods, and this is the footpath that connects Axbridge to Cheddar. There's also lots of drainage channels, and I think the original course of the River Axe has been diverted away from the town, further away to the south than its original course, and that course was to, lots of old courses there, to drain the land so it could be more suitable for farmland here, which effectively, because we're on the Somerset levels. That up there though is the Mendip Hills, as I say, which lies above the town of Axbridge, and on the top there is Fry's Hill. I think Fry's were a famous local family. I'm not sure if that's the same Fry's that had connections to the chocolate factory over at Keynsham, also in Somerset, but now of course in Baines, Bath and North Sea, Somerset. Anyway, I'm going to have another bit of a wander here and tell you some more about what's been happening on West Country Wanderings during the month of August. So I've now come round to this woodland which is adjacent to the reservoir. The embankment to the reservoir is just behind the camera, and there's also a pumping station off to the right there, and all of this belongs to Bristol Water, which constructed the reservoir in 1937, as I say. I can't remember how many gallons of water Cheddar Reservoir holds, but I'll put that in, the usual way. While I'm here though, I thought I'd tell you about what's been happening on the channel. The next video that landed was the Dramway Part 3, our conclusion to our trio videos looking at the former Dramway in South Gloucestershire, connecting up Coalpit Heath down to the River Avon, the Bristol Avon. And I was kind of doing it in reverse order because we got to Coalpit Heath at the end of that video, looking at Ram Hill Colliery site. Amazing. There's so much to say. I didn't expect so much of it still to be intact, as well as Brandy Bottom Colliery as well, which is undergoing restoration by that Avon Industrial Heritage Trust, wasn't it? I had a great comment on that video from Diana Rolfe. Hi Diana, it's always great to read your comments. And she writes that you were fortunate to meet the local man who gave you the relevant info. It was special to hear a peregrine in the woods. I can't hear any moment, but I think there's some blackbirds dotted around. Some village names describe exactly what was going on in the past, like Coalpit Heath. Yes, that's so true. Often you come across villages and it really does describe what happened in the past. And obviously Coalpit Heath is a newer village. I say newer, it's probably well over 250 years old, which sprung up because of the needs of the colliery mining into the Bristol coalfields. Thanks, Diana. And we reached the final, the Seven Way number 26, when I finally got into Bristol. Walking from Severn Beach there, caught the train to Severn Beach. Yes, we finished the Seven Way. I say we because you've been watching the videos along with it, so you, the viewer, have been helping me to complete this mammoth task. It's not so much walking it was the issue. The main two things I think which are logistically difficult is one is transport, both public and private, getting back to your car, or fitting in with railway and bus timetables, and also filming it. It's quite a logistical exercise to film the entire 226-mile walk, or to bring out some kind of watchable video at the end of each day that I've walked on it. But anyway, thanks very much for supporting me on the walk. It brings me on to another topic, and that is, before I talk about the next video that landed, that is the Geopark Way, which is my new long distance project. It's nowhere near as long as a 7 Way, nowhere near as a challenge, but it's a lot hillier, and I think we'll be able to get some fine views from the tops of the hills. Well, it's actually one hill ridge. Excuse me, there's a fly in my eye. One hill ridge that runs south from the Shropshire town of Bridgenorth. I appreciate that's not in the West Country Wanderings area, but after the first video we will be, because we'll be entering Worcestershire, and then the rest of the video will be in both Worcestershire and Gloucestershire, I think a bit of Herefordshire as well. So it follows the line of the Rills. So if you can imagine the Malvern Hills, they extended north to the Aberleys and the Suckleys, and then south down towards Gloucester and Mayhill, other hills around that area. So be following that ridge, which is a main geological feature. I'll be talking about that as we go. They'll be coming up soon, next month, here on West Country Wanderings. So we're now looking across Cheddar Reservoir. Do you a spin round? As you can see, the water level here is quite low. Of course, we're at the end of the summer period, so you kind of expect that. In the winter though, this is a site of interest for bird watchers. You do get particular rare birds. I can't remember all the names, so I put scrolling across the screen now some of the names of some of the rare birds that you do see here at Cheddar Reservoir, which sits in between both Axbridge and Cheddar. In fact, it lies just off the Strawberry line, which is now the cycleway of the old railway line that went past Axbridge station, which we saw earlier in the video, and that, as I say, goes to Yatton down to Witham Friary. But you can go from here, I believe, all the way to the City of Wells and a bit further beyond it on your bike. And there is a higher place at Yatton railway station, which sits on the line between Bristol Templemeads and Taunton. I've just come into a little clearing below the embankment of Cheddar Reservoir. Because it's still the summer holidays month, it is actually quite busy, a very popular walking route. You probably hear lots of people in the background there, and a gate unfortunately banging, which is the access route up onto the reservoir there. Now, going back to Axbridge, just a mile away over there, because it had all that wealth during the fact it was a cloth manufacturing time, it became wealthy, and because of that it was a town of importance, and it meant that it got its own mint, so it had its own coins, and the emblem on those coins, I don't know if I can find an old image on the internet of one, but it was of a lamb and flag. In fact, there's a lamb inn still in two inns in the town of Axbridge, still going strong today, so that's great to have that. Not many towns had their own mint, but this one here, Axbridge, smallest town in Somerset, still certainly did. Now on my channel I like to mix it up with a mixture of both videos which are kind of factual, historical, got a mix of that today with your comments and about Axbridge as well, but also ones that are real fun to do, which I have done in the past, and that was the case with the next one. When I went to the Bristol Balloon Festival, I met up with Louise. I was delighted from southwest Sunday. It was a real fun day there. Unfortunately, because of the wind speed, they couldn't actually get those balloons in the air because it needs to be a certain number of knots. I think it's 5 knots. If it's anything above that, then well, you can't actually fly the balloons. But it was a great day out. Lots of events going on in the main arena. It was a bit of a fun thing. Seemed to go down very, very well, that video. And I had a great comment from I am a Dutch Kiwi, Anita. That was great to hear from you. Anita has her own YouTube channel. It's doing really, really well. And I'll put a link to that in the description of today's video. All the fun at the fair. Nice to see Louise again. Aren't those balloon fiestas fun? Haha, those apples, yes. What she's referring to there, if you haven't seen that video, is Thatcher's, the big cider company, had these inflatable, large inflatable apples, and they did a race. I think the media centre, that was a combined efforts of BBC Radio Bristol, Points West and ITV West Country, and I think a couple of other radio stations as well had a big media tent there. They were in that race, and I think they won just. It was but it was fun anyway, good fun thing to do. That was hilarious, lovely day out, I'll say. Yes, it certainly was. As I say, it was a shame they couldn't fly, but if you haven't yet checked out, Louise stayed right into the evening where she saw the night glow event, which is well worth seeing. Next video was Ledbury, a photo challenge. Now I've actually done a couple of new playlists, I haven't already checked that out. There is now one just solely dedicated to my photography videos, and Ledbury Photo Challenge, of course, was a photography one. I set myself a challenge to go around that beautiful market town in Herefordshire, southern part of the county, to do a challenge looking at 10 photographs and capturing bold colours in just, I gave myself 20 minutes to do so. So yeah, quite a challenge to do that. and seemed to go down very well, that video. I expect not to get bigger views as like the railways and the walking ones, canals, as those sort of things, but I really enjoy doing them, and I know you do, so some of you like those photography ones as well, so I will keep those going. I had a great comment on that video from Daryl. I have to say that the detail and colour on the opening shot of the handbag was absolutely amazing. And David Bolaño, it was great to hear from you, David, over in Spain there. I enjoyed the balloons the best. This is because you have the wooden frame building in that shot. Have you got any ideas of other photography videos you'd like me to cover here on West Country Wanderings? Please drop a comment the usual way below. Thank you, David and Daryl. Now, sometimes I like to make a couple of videos in the same day because it cuts down more logistics. It makes it more financially viable to do that. And as was the case recently, I caught the train to the Dorset town of Weymouth. Made 3 videos that day. It was a very productive day, very long day. I left home at, I caught the 5:15 train out of where I live in Gloucestershire, and I got back at midnight midnight the next day. So yes, very milking every minute out of the day on that one. On the way there, I had to change trains at Westbury Station in Wiltshire, which is quite an interesting location. I hadn't originally planned to do a video there, and I could have ran for the train. There is a 2-minute connection, so I could have caught an earlier train into Weymouth, but I don't like rushing, so I thought, no, I'll take my time. I'll grab a cup of coffee at Westbury Station, more of which in a bit, and do a video there. Well, it started to rain, and it rained heavily, so I decided to open the video in the waiting there, most delighting waiting room, and well, I filmed some other clips and some shots of trains, and it all came together as a look around Westbury Station. And I'm really surprised that that video has done so well. I think it's had well over 800 views now. I'm amazed. It was just, I think it took me about an hour to film, if that, and not too long to edit, and virtually no research whatsoever. And I had a great comment on that video from Louise from Southwest Sundays. Hi Louise, great to hear from you. And she writes, I only usually pay attention to the wonderful coffee there. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, the coffee there at the coffee shop in Westbury. It's excellent. So you ever have to change trains there, make sure you grab yourself a cup of coffee there. It's really, really good. So thank you for opening my eyes to the wider station. It's one of my favourite stations to change trains at. Yes, thanks Louise. It is mine as well. It is really well, there's lots to say, basically, of heritage. If you like stations and railways, you'll love it. So I then went into Weymouth and I filmed a couple of videos that day, as I say. The second one of which, or in fact the third video that day, was one looking at Weymouth itself. So like a traditional seaside, looking at a traditional seaside resort in summer. And when I got to Weymouth, it was raining. And when I did the other video, which I'll come on to mention in a moment, it rained nearly all of that, well, grey and miserable. I got back to Weymouth, I caught the bus back into Weymouth, and the sun came out, and I thought, yes, finally. So I got a chance to do some video clips and photographs around of that famous and well-known Dorset seaside resort. And another great comment on that video from Alice Goss. Hi Alice, another YouTuber. Again, I'll link to Alice's video channel in the description of today's. Always a good place to have a day out in Weymouth. I remember my recent visits there, just so enjoyable. Good to see Weymouth through your eyes. Yeah, thank you very much, Alice. And I think what Alice means there is that if you have 2 YouTubers, you give them the same camera or GoPro, whatever it is, doesn't really matter what the equipment is, so that they've both got the same equipment, and tell them to go on exactly the same day, exactly the same time, the same place. You'll end up with 2 very, very different videos. So that's a very excellent point there, Alice, thank you. And also I did on my canal series. Again, this is a shorter one to film, but it was longer to edit because I added in some additional information which I wasn't aware of, and some more has come to light since the video went out, as is the case of one of the comments. And that video was on the Wilton Barks Canal, number 8th video I've done on the Wilton Barks. There'll be more coming up. And I looked at Foxham Lock, which is, well, clearly it's in Wiltshire, and it's not that far from Chippenham, kind of Chippenham area. And so yes, well worth having a look. If you're ever in that Chippenham, Swindon area, having a look at Foxham Lock. It's a delightful place. It's very, very quiet there. I was there, I think it was a Saturday afternoon, sunny, warm, sunny Saturday afternoon. Virtually no one else there, which is always a great delight. A great comment on that from Neil Hicks. I was the work party organiser for the restoration of the top lock and the lift bridges. Wow, that's fantastic, Neil. I really agree that they were restored between 1988 and 1993, so over a 5-year period. I think actually in the video I mentioned it might have been early 2000s, and I think I got that from another website. But this is the man himself who organised, so he should know. So a great thank you very much for that accurate information there, Neil. Really appreciate that. The damaged bridge was rebuilt at the damaged bridge was rebuilt to not navigational height by local farmer Bob Kinch. So that's great. So I really appreciate that additional information. It's always good to get it from the source. Thank you, Neil. Cheers. Now, one of the surprising things about Axbridge, can't imagine it now, was it used to be a medieval port. As I say, I think the river has moved a little bit more to the south, but it was close to where all the dwellings were, and that bridge, which there is no trace of it now that I'm aware of, hence the name of it being coming from derivative of Axbridge. An important crossing point, I would imagine, in medieval times as well. But yes, there was a port there, and it was a centre of trade during medieval times. But sadly, none of that remains. And I think the cloth manufacture and then the roads coming up later on took it away from importance, away from that, and cloth trade derived it. But it is a really, really pleasant place to go to. So if you are visiting Cheddar, why not pop into Axbridge first, or after you visit Cheddar, because it's well worth a stop. Now, also a stop was my next video, and that was the Weymouth and Portland Railways. I think it was number 17, my Lost Railway Walk series, which always seemed to be of interest on the channel. And as I say, I caught the train to Weymouth, as you know, and I walked to Portland. Well, seeing what I could of the remains of 4 separate railways. I won't give you all the details with that again, because if you watched it and you're interested, you'll know all about that by now. And I can't remember it all now after doing all the pieces to camera today. But I had a great comment on that video from Michael Miller. Thank you very much, Michael. It was great to hear from you. I visited Weymouth and Portland years ago when my parents lived at Poole, also in Dorset. I caught the train. The rails were still down on the Weymouth Street Railway. Yes, that's the one that goes to Weymouth Quay, and I hope to do a video about that at some future point. There isn't a great deal of it to see, but we can certainly look at some old photographs and see what does remain of that very ever popular, so popular Weymouth Quay Railway. My digital camera had given up the ghost, so I went in and bought a cheap film camera without realising it was an APS camera, and I got some shots. Well, terrific, Mike. I hope you still got them there. So that would be really worth seeing these days, because history so disappears, and that's what I like about photography. It's there in 1 minute, you've captured that moment, you go back in a few days' time, weeks' time, and it could have changed completely. The landscape changed, the borders have come in, a new building shot up. It all changes all so fast, and photography is a great way of capturing it. Yeah, so I love photography. Thanks very much for that, Michael. Now, I like to return to the Cotswold Canals, and I do know that a lot of you actually subscribe to West Country Wanderings, probably in the first year or so. Not the very beginning, because as I say, I started this channel in South Devon, in Dartmouth. But later on, when I returned to Gloucestershire, I then took an interest in the Stroudwater Canal, specifically because of my a great uncle who had set up the original Restoration Trust back in the 1970s. Gentleman called David Boakes, and so I always had a keen interest in it, although I didn't know at that time a great deal about it. And when they were doing the Ocean Bridge in the town of Stonehouse with the railway going over it, I took more interest in it, and I've been doing videos about it ever since. And that was the case with the last one, when I was looking at the history of Nutshell Cottage, house and bridge on the Stroudwater. Yeah, so we come up with quite a few things. Amazing place, it really is. To have that tunnel there connecting the cottage to the house, but it looks like it probably wasn't built as a cottage, but built by Mr. Hill, perhaps as a warehouse. Maybe he was up to some things which are not entirely clear cut, but we don't know. I'm not going to say too more about that, so it might be worth delving more into the archives, as Joan Tugger in a book hints at there. But I had a great comment on that from Roy Edwards. Hi Paul, nice location and information. And also Ron from Parkinsons Walks. So much history in one area. Well done for digging it out. I'd just like to say thank you for both Ron and to Roy, because they were both some of my earlier subscribers, certainly from the very first year. And I've always loved their channels, and they often comment on mine. In fact, Roy, I think, has commented on every single video I've ever done. So thank you very much, Roy. And Ron comments regularly on my channel as well. Really appreciate that. Roy, I don't know how you do it, Roy. He puts out about 2 or 3 videos every single day from all over the place. Not just the UK, he goes to Spain and he's been to the Channel Islands. Yeah, check out his channel. He is from Redditch in Worcestershire and does loads of supporting videos for local events around the town of Redditch. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend it. It's well worth looking at any local events. He'll go out and support them and talk to the people that support them, local events, raising money for charity, all that sort of thing. And loads of other places, and crosses over with a lot of things that I do. He travels on the train a lot, he does cycling, and yeah, just check out his channel. I'll put a description to Roy's channel. And also, you'll also be interested in Parkinsons Walks if you're not already subscribed to Ron's channel. He has done videos now, I think, for something like 7 years. He lives in the northern part of Gloucestershire, near the Worcestershire border, and he does videos also about canals and railways and walking and the Cotswolds. So quite similar to content sort of mine, and I think he does videos from Cornwall as well, particularly North Cornwall, Padstow area. So check out Ron. So thank you very much, both Ron and Roy. Now, before I mention at the last video, which landed this month, might be, as I say, a couple more, just tell you what's going to be happening in the month of September here on West Country Wandering as well. Yeovil Steam Centre will be arriving. Just need to get that one edited and that'll be up over the next couple of days. The next one will be Sherborne in Dorset. It's a short bite, but Sherborne is a beautiful, beautiful Dorset town. If you're not familiar with that, check that video out there, the short bite, mainly photography, but also video clips. There was even a Wurlitzer organ, and there was some kind of event going on at Sherborne School when I was there on the Sunday, so that was interesting. They're going to be returned to Bristol Harbour Railway as well, so I did a part one, which has done phenomenally well, about 1,500 views. I'm blown away by that, but there will be, I need to do more research. Yeah, I've done some research, but I need to head down to Bristol and film the second part of Bristol Harbour Railway. That's going to happen in September, and also say the first part of our big long distance project, not so long distance 7 ways, as I say, but the Geopark Way, starting in Bridgnorth. That'll happen in September, hopefully. And going to be another looking for a lost canal. I'm not going to say which one it is yet. I will go back to the Chard one, and probably back to the Leominster one as well, but we're going to be looking at another canal this time, so that'll happen, hopefully. There'll be a Cotswold Walk, going to be filming that over the next few days, and there's going to be some from Devon and Cornwall. I don't quite know what that's going to be yet, but we'll see. It'll be something from Devon and Cornwall. Because of it's summer and busy M5 busy trains, I don't tend to do much from Devon and Cornwall. Sorry, Devon and Cornwall, I will be back there again soon. And finally, for this month, the Charfield Railway disaster. Well, have you really gone for this video? It's only been up, well, I don't think it's been up yet. 24 hours, is it? But it's flying. Yeah, so a lot of you are aware of the Charfield Railway disaster, particularly if you're into your railway history. And yes, oh boy, did I overcome something, didn't I, from that article in the Saga magazine. And I have had a reply from the school. Yes, it's only a hold of employment, obviously because the schools have been off, but because it's a private school, they've had some staff there. So I have had a reply. That, although in the video I say today, I think I say the word today, it wasn't today when the video went out because I filmed it a few days ago. So the email went off to the school. I've had a reply, so I'm still waiting for some more information. I will almost certainly need to do some more research. And like one of the commenters said, I'll probably need to go down to Cornwall Records office. Yes, so that'll probably happen. So yeah, it's really exciting stuff, isn't it, if you watch that video? And I have no idea will I be able to get anywhere near solving this really strange mystery. But you can but try these things. It's just odd how that thing kind of literally fell into my lap when I bought that book as well. It's just, the whole thing is just so strange. So I'll keep you updated in next monthly's vlog on that, and also in my Facebook group. If you're not aware, I have a Facebook group. You can join that and I'll update you on there as well and put some various bits of information and photos relating to the Charfield Railway Mystery War. But that in next month's vlog. If there is a major breakthrough or something, then obviously I'll do another video all about it, and that will happen here right on West Country Wanderings. Thanks for that, and thank you for commenting. Great comment from Jim Nichols. Good detective work. We await further developments. Keep everyone updated. Yes, I certainly will, Jim. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so that's it. That was month of August here on West Country Wanderings. 12 videos, more to come. Lots happening in the month of September. It's always great to hear from your comments. I really love that. And thank you also if you've been adding on photographs and video clips on my Facebook group. So I'm now up to 300 on that. So I really appreciate that. That's fantastic. And more the merrier. So if you want to join, hop in there and share your own photographs and video clips from the whole of the wider West Country, not just Somerset, not just Gloucestershire, but right up into Worcestershire, Herefordshire, Devon, Cornwall, Dorset, Baines, North Somerset. This is where I get stuck. Torquay, Plymouth, help me out. South Gloucestershire, I know mid places out. Swindon, Wiltshire, yeah. So all of those and above. Any of those places, then stick them in on the Facebook group there. And also if you've been to like a restaurant, pub, had a great meal, service, did a great walk, all of that, people would love to hear from you. So shove that review on my Facebook group. Thanks very much for watching during the month of August here on West Country Wanderings. Until next month, and the next video indeed. See you soon. All the best. Take care. Bye bye for now. Cheers.